A very good morning. You're with News9. All the stories from around the world that move the needle on the stock markets, on businesses and on global economy coming your way in the next 30 minutes. You're here on World Business Report. Well, let's dive in straight to US markets. Nasdaq experienced a soaring rally on Wall Street, riding high on the coattails of Nvidia's exceptional performance, making significant gains. Conversely, Boeing's restrained advancements put some sort of a dampener on Dow's ascent, offering a nuanced picture of the market's current trajectory. Take a look.
Wall Street's main indexes notched significant gains on Monday, boosted by chipmaker Nvidia and other megacap tech stocks. The Dow rose 0.6%, while the S&P 500 jumped 1.4%, and the Nasdaq soared 2.2%. Among those leading the charge, Nvidia, which surged nearly 6.5%, rallying to a record closing high after the world's most valuable chipmaker unveiled new AI-driven graphics processors. Fellow chipmaker Advanced Micro Devices jumped 5.5%.
We're looking at the markets rising sharply today after a bit of sell-off early last week.
Gitu Sharma is founder and investment manager at Alpha's Future.
We are seeing a strong recovery and very strong gains in the tech stocks. I think we have some positive news flow around Nvidia. We are also seeing this sentiment momentum around spot Bitcoin ETF that everybody's expecting the SEC to approve. So that's, I think, giving a further boost to some of these technology, AI, speculative stocks as well.
Apple climbed nearly 2.5% after the iPhone maker said its Vision Pro mixed reality device will be available for sale beginning February 2nd in the U.S. Meanwhile, keeping the Dow in check, shares of Boeing plunged 8% as controversy surrounds its 737 MAX planes. Days after a panel blew off an Alaska Airlines-operated MAX 9 mid-flight, the plane maker and U.S. regulators gave the go-ahead on Monday for airlines to inspect jets that have been grounded in response to the incident. Investors were given more interest rate tea leaves to read, as Atlanta Federal Reserve President Raphael Bostic said that with inflation still above the central bank's 2% target, his bias is for monetary policy to remain tight. On that front, the closely watched Consumer Price Index and Producer Price Index reports are due later this week.
All right, from the markets, let's move into a flurry of data that's likely to come in today. Inflation data, not today, in fact, this week. Inflation data to crypto market volatility. Here's a look at stories to watch out in business and finance this week.
From a flurry of inflation data to crypto market volatility, these are the stories to watch in business and finance. Gradually cooling inflation has increased bets that the Fed could begin lowering borrowing costs as early as March. Inflation data on January 11th could show whether those expectations are warranted. Policymakers in Australia, China, and Japan face critical inflation readings. The Reserve Bank of Australia could find some relief if there's a slowdown in November's inflation. In contrast, a pickup in consumer prices in Japan could cheer those betting on a Bank of Japan policy pivot. In China, figures on January 12th will give further clarity on whether deflationary pressures continue to mount in the world's second-largest economy. JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, and Citigroup are due to report fourth quarter and full-year earnings on January 12th. Top lenders brought in more income from interest payments in 2023, helping banks to offset a protracted slump in deal-making revenue in Wall Street divisions. While household finances have remained largely healthy since the health crisis, some customers, particularly those on lower incomes, are starting to fall behind on payments in greater numbers. Bitcoin topped $45,000 for the first time since April 2022, on bets that exchange-traded spot Bitcoin funds will get approved by the Securities and Exchange Commission soon. Market players say that could usher in a new wave of capital to crypto, but some analysts say there are doubts over demand and whether approval is already priced in.
Alright, the big headline likely to come this week is whether or not the SEC in US is going to permit those spot Bitcoin ETFs. Well, diving into statistics of the week reveals another staggering and pertinent question looming over financial realms. The remarkable figure of $34 trillion commands scrutiny and contemplation, encapsulating the essence of current economic dynamics. Here's that story.
From America's growing debt pile to a new champion in the market for EVs, this is the week in numbers. $34 trillion is the new records level of US public debt. The number sets the stage for more bruising battles in Congress. Lawmakers return soon to discuss government spending through September, with the spectre of a federal government shutdown once again looming. 2.6 million was how many cars General Motors sold in the US last year, despite a weeks-long strike. That means it took top spot, just ahead of Japanese rival Toyota. Total vehicle sales in the country hit their highest since 2019. Just under 485,000 was the record number of Tesla deliveries over the latest quarter. But that wasn't enough for it to hold on to top spot in the global markets for electric vehicles. Chinese rival BYD took that title by a narrow margin. $4,000 is how much it now costs to ship a container from Asia to Northern Europe, more than double the price just a few days earlier. The surge comes after new attacks on ships by Houthi militants, which have forced cargo movers to send their vessels on longer but safer routes. And $1.5 billion could be the price for a very big serving of bubble tea. Reuters sources say China's top two producers of the drink want to raise up to that amount in two share offerings. Mixia and Guming want to cash in on soaring demand for the strangely lumpy liquid.
Alright, $1.5 billion for bubble tea there. Well, according to news agencies, insider sources hint at Nvidia's imminent rollout of a specialized AI chip tailored explicitly for the Chinese market, a move poised to make significant waves within the tech industry and regional AI development. Take a look.
Nvidia plans to begin mass production of an artificial intelligence chip designed for China. It aims to start in the second quarter of this year, with the semiconductor made to comply with US export rules. That's according to two people close to the matter. The H20 chip is the most powerful of three China-focused chips Nvidia developed to meet restrictions announced in October. It was first scheduled to launch last November, but the plan was delayed. Sources told Reuters at the time the holdup was down to issues server manufacturers had integrating the chip. Nvidia declined to comment. Reuters previously reported that Chinese companies were reluctant to buy the downgraded H20, and they're testing domestic alternatives because of a fear the US could tighten restrictions again. Last year, Reuters reported search engine leader Baidu ordered AI chips from Huawei in a shift away from Nvidia. In addition to the H20, Nvidia plans two other chips that comply with the new restrictions, the L20 and L2. The chipmaker has yet to announce the sale of any of the three.
Okay, legal turbulence ensues in the space exploration arena as SpaceX takes decisive legal action, filing a lawsuit against an agency amidst allegations of wrongful terminations. Here's that story.
Elon Musk's rocket firm SpaceX is suing a US agency that accused it of illegally firing employees. The National Labour Relations Board says the company broke the law when it dismissed 8 workers in 2022. That was after they signed a letter accusing Musk of making sexist comments that went against corporate policies. The case is due to be heard by a judge and a 5-member board appointed by US President Joe Biden. But on Thursday, SpaceX filed a suit against the agency in a Texas federal court. It argues that the complaint by the NLRB violates the US Constitution with regards to how judges and board members are appointed. The firm recently used a similar tactic to block a case brought by the Department of Justice. That alleged that the company illegally refused to hire refugees and asylum recipients. A federal judge in Texas subsequently put the DOJ's case on hold. The NLRB already faces a similar suit brought by a Starbucks employee in New York who opposes unionization of workers at her store. She sued the board after it denied her bid to seek a vote on dissolving the union.
All right, and good news coming from the U.S. job front. December registers a robust acceleration in U.S. job creation, a substantial uptick bolstered further by noteworthy wage hikes, indicating a promising trajectory for the labor market and potential impact on consumer spending. Here's that story.
American employers didn't just hire more workers than expected in December, they hiked wages as well. The U.S. Labor Department on Friday said the country added 216,000 new jobs last month, compared with an average estimate of 170,000. And wages rose 0.4% in line with November. It's the latest data pointing to a resilient U.S. economy still showing gains, despite an aggressive policy of interest rate hikes meant to cool inflation. And it is also likely to further dim investor hopes the Federal Reserve might reverse course anytime soon. The data indicated the economy avoided a recession last year and will likely continue to grow through 2024 as jobs are added and consumers continue spending. Still, the economy is undoubtedly slowing, and danger could lie ahead. The last jobs report of 2023 shows the U.S. added some 2.7 million jobs over the year, sharply below the 4.8 million positions created in 2022. Job growth in recent months has been largely concentrated in just a handful of sectors, such as leisure, hospitality, and healthcare.
All right, and of course, inflationary pressure continues in the U.S., which has substantially slowed down its growth rate. But the same pressures are also felt in the Eurozone. And in fact, the inflationary pressure has now reached a new high. What's it doing is really presenting a fairly challenging conundrum to the European Central Bank. The surging figures, in fact, temper expectations for the imminent rate cuts, prompting a reevaluation of the ECB's monetary policy. Take a look.
Eurozone inflation surged last month and could still go higher in the early part of 2024. The rate across the bloc jumped to 2.9%, up from November's 2.4%, but slightly below analyst forecasts. The data eases pressure on the European Central Bank to start cutting interest rates from record highs. It also appears to confirm the ECB's prediction that inflation will flatline in the 2.5 to 3% range through 2024 before slowing next year. There was one hopeful sign though. Underlying inflation, which excludes food and energy rises, eased down slightly to 3.4%, suggesting overall prices are still cooling. But policymakers might be concerned services inflation jumped 0.7% on the month. It's closely tied to wages and could point to a quick rise in incomes, potentially fueling price pressures. Investors and policymakers appear to have different outlooks on rates. Investors have bet the ECB will cut rates 6 times this year, with the first move coming in March or April. Policymakers argue we could be midway through the year before inflation is indeed under control. The ECB meets next on January 25th, with a clear signal that no policy action is coming.
All right, and on a programming note, right here on News9, mark the date on your calendars. Jan 22nd is the date for the Pran Pratishtha, the big inauguration of the Ram Mandir in Ayodhya. Take a look at this.
Ram's Ayodhya rebuilt. Ram Lala's Pran Pratishtha. Countdown to January 22nd. Dateline Ayodhya. Catch the mega coverage only on News9 Live.
All right, coming back to global news-making headlines. Well, navigational shifts take center stage in maritime logistics as Maersk, a prominent shipping conglomerate, announcing in fact a decision to avoid the Red Sea in foreseeable routes, signaling a reorientation in global shipping strategies. Here's that story.
Container shipping giant Maersk announced on Friday that it is diverting all vessels from Red Sea routes around Africa's Cape of Good Hope for the foreseeable future. It warned customers to prepare for significant disruption. The move is in response to attacks on shipping in the Gulf region by Iranian-backed Houthi militants in Yemen, in support of Palestinian Islamist group Hamas, fighting Israel in Gaza. The Red Sea is the shortest route from Asia to Europe via the Suez Canal and is used by roughly 1/3 of global container ship cargo. Redirecting ships around Africa can add about 10 days to journey times and up to $1 million extra in fuel for every round trip. In a statement, Maersk said the situation is constantly evolving and remains highly volatile, but confirmed all its ships would reroute until further notice. On Thursday, Maersk ordered 4 container vessels that had already passed through the Suez Canal to turn back and start the long journey around Africa. The United States last month launched a multinational operation to try to safeguard commerce in the Red Sea, but many shipping companies and cargo owners are still choosing to divert vessels amid continued attacks.
All right, global shipping line disruptions there not likely to augur well at all for an economy around the world already struggling to grow. Well, moving focus to Europe, the labour landscape in Spain faces disruptions as ground staff employed by Iberia under the ownership of International Airlines Group, or IAG, has initiated strikes across various regions, amplifying tensions and impacting air travel.
Ground staff at Iberia Airlines began a 4-day strike at Spanish airports on Friday. It forced the cancellation of hundreds of flights, but Iberia reported minimum impact on services. The IAG-owned carrier said in a statement that operations began normally at 7 a.m. local time. It further said only 17% of those involved took part in the strike. Iberia has warned some airports were likely to be affected, including Barcelona, Bilbao and Malaga. They added Iberia, Iberia Express and Air Nostrum had cancelled 400 flights, while other IAG partner airlines called off 300 more. The Iberia representative for the CCOO union said earlier that it expected the strike to be observed at all airports, including Madrid. Ground staff are protesting against contracts signed with new providers at Spanish airports. Spain's commercial airports are operated by state-controlled AENA. In September, it hired new contractors for services previously provided by Iberia in many airports. The move upset unions, even though the new suppliers committed to retain workers and their working conditions. Iberia is channeling the new contracts in the Spanish courts and called strike action irresponsible.
All right, and upwards in Germany, German farmers set the stage for a week-long series of protests advocating for diverse causes ranging from agricultural policies to environmental concerns, marking, in fact, a unified call for change within the farming community in Germany. Here's that story.
German farmers kicked off a week of nationwide protests on Monday. They blocked roads with tractors in response to plans to phase out agricultural subsidies. Convoys lined German roads, while in Berlin dozens of tractors blocked the main avenue leading to the Brandenburg Gate. Police reports said roads were blocked in many locations nationwide and caused traffic jams during the morning rush hour. Farmers have vowed to blockade major traffic and logistics routes for a week. They argue an end to tax breaks will drive farms out of business. Joachim is a truck driver.
What the government is doing to us, increasing the road tax, increasing the price of diesel and so on, no one can afford this anymore. Everyone is affected, and the problem is, everyone going shopping notices it and has to suffer.
Authorities are racing to finalise a draft budget for this year that was delayed by a court ruling. A backlash from farmers last week caused Germany's ruling coalition to make unexpected changes. The farmers' tax break on agricultural diesel now won't be abruptly ended, but the subsidy will be reduced by 40% this year and by just under a third next year. It will eventually end from 2026. The government also dropped plans to abolish the preferential treatment in vehicle tax for forestry and agriculture. The German Farmers Association said the changes weren't enough and stuck with plans for protests.
All right, and moving towards the US, a winter storm blankets the northeastern United States, leaving roads, yards and vehicles covered in heavy snow. Take a look at these visuals. Well, the chill in New Delhi doesn't feel that cold anymore. Well, moving on to the world of entertainment, renowned actress Angela Bassett expresses heartfelt delight and gratitude upon being honored with the esteemed honorary Oscar, a testament to her illustrious career and contributions to the entertainment industry. Here's that package.
But very excited and very thrilled. The moment I'm most proud of is making the decision to follow your dreams. You know, regardless of how difficult that would be or how impossible it seemed at the moment. That certainly was a moment during that movie where I knew that I am stronger, that more was required of me, asked of me, that had ever been asked before, and that I was up for the challenge. We all are.
And celebratory moments unfold in Hollywood as veteran actor Willem Dafoe is bestowed with a star on the prestigious Hollywood Walk of Fame, commemorating his remarkable achievements in the world of cinema.
Willem has been called one of the greatest American actors in our lifetime. I'll call him that. I'll go as far as to say he is the greatest American actor in our lifetime. You cannot compare his career to anyone's, truthfully. So it is our fortune to have him, and I personally am forever grateful. Thank you, Willem.
I just want to say, you know, it's wonderful to be part of that, this community of artists and entertainers, people that by sharing their experience, imagining others' perspectives, telling stories, and musing on what is, was, and most importantly could be, they make us feel closer to each other and connect us, creating an important human dialogue particularly needed in these detached, technology-driven, and divisive times. So I'm glad to be with people like this, and we're making something, and hopefully we're making this a better world somehow.
Willem Dafoe there. Well, moving on to the Golden Globe Awards on Sunday, which saw historical drama Oppenheimer and media dynasty drama Succession dominating the event. Emma Stone's starrer Poor Things beat out Margot Robbie's blockbuster hit Barbie. Hollywood celebrated its most significant gathering since labor disputes disrupted much of the show business last year, and celebrities attended the event in large numbers, showing their renewed reacceptance of the Globes given the recent change in management. Take a look at this package.
The Golden Globes kicked off this year's Hollywood award season in style on Sunday, and also marked entertainment's biggest party since the 6 months of strikes by actors and writers that shut down the industry for much of last year. Oppenheimer won big for film, taking home the top prize for drama and 4 others, including the coveted Best Drama Actor prize for Cillian Murphy, and another for Best Director, Christopher Nolan's first at the Globes.
I can only accept this on behalf of people. As directors, we bring people together and we try and get them to give of their best.
Poor Things.
Meanwhile, Poor Things, starring Emma Stone, beat out smash hit Barbie for Best Movie Musical or Comedy. Stone was also named Best Actress in a musical or comedy for her portrayal of Bella Baxter, who embarks on a dramatic voyage of self-discovery and liberation. On the TV side, media dynasty drama Succession and dramedies The Bear and Beef fared especially well. Succession depicts the power struggle among members of the wealthy, backstabbing Roy family. For its 4th and final season, the HBO show broke the record for most Golden Globe TV Award nominations and took home the Best Drama win, as well as 3 for cast members. Jeremy Allen White received his 2nd Golden Globe for his role as head chef Carmy in The Bear.
I can't believe I'm in this room with all these people I've loved so much, admired so much for so long. It's unreal. I love this show.
Netflix comedy drama Beef won Best Television Limited Series, and leads Ali Wong and Steven Yeun brought home Best Female and Male Actor in that category. They were the first Globe wins for both actors, and a nod to an Asian-led series. Sunday was the first instance of the Globes under new organization, after an ethics and diversity scandal led the 2022 ceremony to be scrapped, and reforms were made to its voting structure. As part of the new effort, Sunday's winners were decided by a comparatively racially diverse block of roughly 300 entertainment journalists from 75 countries around the world.
Well, that's all on this edition of World Business Report, but we'll see you again tomorrow. However, you better not go anywhere because news and updates continue right here on News9 Live. Stick around.
This was intended to be a terrorist spectacular without precedent.
The plan was to bomb 2 Air India passenger aircrafts simultaneously.
There was a loud explosion and the whole plane just vanished.
The police dropped the ball, the intelligence officer